In this episode, we are going to be talking about gaslighting and projection and projecting, and what's the difference between the two. There is a bit of confusion. Some people are not clear with what gaslighting means or what projection means, and often the two get mixed up. So today we're going to give a bit of a spotlight to those to give you a bit better understanding. So Charmaine is back. Welcome back, Charmaine. So we're going to talk about gaslighting. What would you like to say about gaslighting before I share my bit?
So gaslighting is basically when the abuser makes you question your reality and your sanity. So the minute you start questioning your sanity, that's gaslighting. That is exactly what gaslighting is.
Okay, but what does that mean in actual, as an example to you?
So gaslighting will come in sentences like, I never said that. I never did that. It wasn't me. You're imagining things. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just basically denying something that would have happened.
Yeah, not to be confused with legitimate forgetting things. I have ADHD and I tend to forget certain things, and sometimes I'll say things and I completely forget about them. And then I'm like, you said that. I'm like, I did. I don't remember saying that. So that's it's very important to not confuse the gaslighting, like those sentences, with people who legitimately are forgetting things. So if you watching this or listening to this feel that maybe you are being gaslit, one way to cover yourself, if it happens a lot, is to record the conversation and maybe have these conversations, like be in agreement first to see if the other person is willing to be okay with recording the conversations. And then you can go back. I know the Depp Heard case trial, that is the reason they had the recordings, is because, I'm going to say allegedly, because there's a lot of controversy over who was right, who was wrong. I have my thoughts on this. Regardless, it doesn't matter what I think in this case, other than the fact that they both agreed to record their arguments so that they could go back and re-listen to them to see who said what, because there was a lot of denial on, I didn't say that, or I didn't say it that way. So if you can come to a compromise and do that, that's wonderful. But if the one person who's doing this to you does not agree, then record them anyway, just for your own sanity. And then you can go back and re-listen to it, and then you'll know that you're not the crazy one. Right? So, but if someone is legitimately forgetting something, like, we need to be able to dissect and see what's really gaslight versus somebody forgetting. Now, I have I took a section from an article from Medicine Net that gives 8 points on gaslighting and how to recognize it. So I like to read those because I think it gives a little bit more depth into understanding it. And are you okay with me reading this?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay. So there are different tactics of gaslighting, and they involve, one is lying or exaggerating the lie. I'm reading this verbatim. The abusers may blatantly lie to the victims and would stick to it even if the truth is just the opposite. They would never change their story and would also provide proof to justify their lie. That's one of them. And actually, this reminds me of a conversation I had with someone who was just a friend at the time, and I don't remember the details of the conversation, but it was something that was extremely obvious that what they had said was not correct. And then when I showed them, I'm like, but look, they still stuck to their say because that's what they said, and that's had to stick, even though the evidence showed the opposite. So yeah. So anyway, so that's one. Number two, discrediting the victim to others. The abusers would spread rumors and gossips about the victim to others. I know we were talking outside of this recording, we were talking about flying monkeys, we will address that in another episode. So this kind of ties into that. They would make others believe that there is something wrong with the victim and the mental status of the victim isn't right. Then the abuser would make you think that others are spreading rumors about the victim's mental instability. Number 3, deflecting blame. When the victim questions the gaslighter or the abuser about something they did, the gaslighter tends to change the topic instead of responding to the issue. We actually see a lot of politicians do that, don't we? They get asked questions and they never answer. They may even crop stories up to put the blame on their victim, which kind of overlaps with projection, which we're going to talk about in a minute. 4, minimizing the victim's thoughts and feelings. If the victim gets to hear statements like, calm down, or you're overreacting, or why are you so sensitive, then be sure that the gaslighter is trying to overpower the victim by trivializing the victim's emotions. Number 5, shifting the blame to the victim. Blaming the victim in a common tactic of all the is a common tactic of all the gaslighters. Gaslighters make the victim culprit for all of their bad behavior, which is kind of projecting. 6, denying wrongdoing. They deny any wrongdoing to avoid taking responsibility for their poor choices, which could leave the victim frustrated and in deep pain. 7, using compassionate words as a weapon. The gaslighters try to deceive the victim by kind words. They may use sentences like, you know how much I love you, or I would never hurt you on purpose, to reinforce their manipulative behavior. The victim thinks that things are not that bad, and it is, they overreact. And this makes the victim believe their gaslighter even more. And last but not least, twisting and reframing conversations. The gaslighters are experts in reframing the conversation to their favor, which may make the victim doubt their memory because the stories and memories are continuously told favoring the gaslighters. Yeah, I have an example of a gaslighting situation that happened in one of my relationships, my ex relationships, where we were at a stoplight and a group of people walked across, like we were in the car, he was driving, as a group of people walked across the street. And I just glanced at the group of people, but I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, but I glanced at people, but I wasn't looking at anybody in particular. And when the group passed by, he starts yelling at me, saying that I saw how you were looking at him. I'm like, looking at who? I didn't even know if there was a man in there, or like, I saw you looking at him. I saw how you looked at him. Him, who? So he created the scenario just to see how I would react. But he also created a fake scenario to make me think that maybe I looked at somebody, and maybe I looked at somebody in a way that wasn't appropriate. I don't know, because it started making me question, because I don't remember seeing any guy. I don't remember seeing any man. I just saw a group of people cross. My mind was somewhere else, but just, so there's an example of gaslighting, creating these situations that are not real and trying to make you believe that they are. And the whole term of gaslighting, do you know where it came from, Charmaine?
It came from a movie. Yes.
It came from the movie. Have you seen it?
It's on my list, but I don't think I've seen it. No.
Yeah. So that's where the whole term came from, right? It came from that. I won't spoil the movie for you. I won't tell you, but just watch it. It's worth watching. Obviously, it's a very old movie. I believe it's black and white. I don't even think it's in color.
Yes, it is. I've seen parts of it, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's a black and white. It's a matinee.
Yeah.
Very well done though. For its time, it's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. And it shows you the whole gaslighting, really what the whole tactics that were being used. He appeared to be this most loving and caring person, but at the same time he was trying to make her go crazy, so, and make everybody look at her as the crazy one. So very, very important. So okay, so we covered the gaslighting. Now let's talk about projection. What is your experience with that, or your take on that?
Okay, so the definition, we'll start with the definition of projection. The definition of projection is when a person knows what his faults are, but are putting it on you. For example, a person knows that he's cruel, so he's going to say, "You're cruel." A person knows that you're, let's say, you're lying. He knows that he's lying, and he's going to be like, "You're lying." So whatever he's going through himself is being projected onto you. So that is projection.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if it is projection or gaslighting when they say, you made me do it. Look what you made me do.
Basically, blame shifting.
So there you go. You got the blame shifting in there too. So what if you're accused of I did this because of you, you made me do it. This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have done it. If we didn't have the fight, I would not have had the accident. If I, whatever, right? So yeah, the blame shift. I kind of it feels like it kind of fits together with the gaslighting, the projection, the blame shift. It feels like it's
Yes,
all in that
exactly.
same bubble.
Interwoven.
Yeah, so I would say that it fits in this episode. So if you're experiencing any of these things, if you have any questions, please reach out for help, whether to us, we can point you in the right direction, or go to the resources in the description of here on YouTube or inside the podcast. So any final thoughts, Charmaine, before we go?
Yes, one main point about projection, when someone is accusing you of something, that's actually a confession. So pay attention, very, very close attention to what you are being accused of, because that is exactly what they are doing. So if you're being accused of cheating, hell yeah, they're cheating on you. That's your cue.
Oh, you know what? And that is so common. That is so common. I'm glad you brought that up. It is very common. Either they accuse you of cheating or they act like, is there something going on? And they'll start planting that seed. So they will do that as
They
well.
spy on you. You know, they'll set up little things like I had all my chats and emails spied on, and he would actually quote chats that I know were not discussed with him. And I was like, where is he getting all these things from? You know, so pay attention to these little things. You're cheating on me. You're lying. These are two very common phrases. You're
Yeah.
lying. I had to back up everything with proof that I was telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I always prove. So I always keep evidence for everything. I just started like documenting everything. You think I'm lying? Here's the proof I'm not. Now
Yeah.
what? What is the next step?
Yeah.
So pay attention to what you're being accused of.
Yeah.
And you're not the crazy one.
So now you're making me think that when I was being accused of looking at someone crossing the street, that probably he was looking at someone that I didn't pay attention to. And then I got
Very
accused
cool.
by looking. That's probably what happened. Now it's like, see,
Makes sense.
years later, one more thing that kind of, oh, now that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's so much. There's so much. Uh, there's so much that actually I think this is evidence of how insidious emotional abuse is, because it doesn't end same as physical abuse. When you leave a physically abusive relationship, the physical abuse ends. When you leave, mind you, in the physical abuse, there's also emotional abuse attached to that. So I'm not discrediting the physical abuse. But if you are in an abusive relationship that is emotionally abusive only, when you leave that relationship, although the added on abuse does not continue, hopefully, sometimes it continues through the separation process and even later because the one person won't let go. But let's assume that you're discarded by the abuser and no added abuse happens. All of the emotional abuse that's taken place has made its way into your brain, that for years you're still sorting out through that stuff. And it is so, I don't want to use the word damaging because I don't feel that's the right, it is in a way, it damages your quality of life because it distracts you from you living your life in a good, healthy way, because your brain goes always back. Like here I am years and years later, all of a sudden realizing that, oh, wait a minute, that's probably what was happening. Not that my life is going to be any different now by realizing that, but in a way it does, because it gives me peace of mind. I'm like, really, I was not looking at anybody in particular. So that's off of me. So it kind of releases some of that weight, right? Trying some, like, maybe I did look at somebody and maybe it looked like I was looking at somebody, but I didn't notice that I was doing that. So all that questioning goes away, realizing that that was very likely projection. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so this is it for this episode, and we will see you next time with more signs to help you protect yourself, as awareness is power and it's your shield. So till next time, bye for now.